I'm a mother requires Samsung Assistant Sam. I'll start perhaps with a little background. There are many teenagers of my age living near my house, many of whom I am friends with. We have a special tradition of having a football game every night. On one of these evenings, which happened by the way, just a couple of days ago, a 13-year-old boy approached our group, who apparently moved to our area quite recently. He asked if he could play with us. We didn't object, because the more, the better. His style of play was pretty good, so the game went off with a bang. And when we finished, I was approached by a woman who is the mother of the boy. "How do you like my son's game? He's good, isn't it?" "Yes, indeed." "So when are you going to pay me in that case?" "Don't worry, not much wool." The lady pointed to my brand new Samsung phone, bought the other day for my own savings. "I think your Samsung dialer will be enough. My son just recently told me that he wants such a phone because of some Sam." I suppressed the smile that almost appeared on my face when I heard the name of the notorious new Samsung assistant. And then he opened his mouth to object to his mother. Only her son beat me to it. "Mom, cut it out already. You've gotten us into trouble too many times because of your habit of extorting other people's things. You shut up for now, my boy," I said to the mother, after which she turned to me. "Give me your cell phone, or I'll call the cops." "That's enough, Ma, go home for now. Dad's waiting for you there." At the word Dad, the woman gave a strange start and headed for the nearest house. And her son turned in my direction. "I'm really sorry that Mom gave you trouble. She's not bad, but she's not right in the head. If I'm not mistaken, this is some special form of kleptomania. Anyway, if you're going to play football again, call me." After this phrase, he left, leaving me to comprehend what had happened. I'm Dimitrescu's mother stalking me. It happened during a tedious school trip to the ancient mansion of a long-deceased count, whose name flew out of my head at the very moment when this woman appeared. But let's take it in order. Together with my class, I boarded a pre-rented bus for a crowd of ninth graders, so that at least for some century, they would break away from their computers and have fun in the fresh air like normal children. At least, that's what our homeroom teacher, who recently turned 60, said. Yeah, of course. We will definitely have full pants of fun during a tour of the dilapidated estate, where the best attraction is the half-rotted underpants of the former owner. But anyway, we've arrived. And I, being a typical shy child without friends, sat down at a distance from gaggle, teaching classmates on an old shabby bench. I took a sketchbook out of my backpack along with a pencil and began to think about what I should draw this time. At first, my eyes fell on a few flyworms who were enjoying various goodies, a spoiled banana, the remains of yogurt on the lid, as well as a dead rat or something similar. Disgusting picture. I hurried to turn my gaze to the mansion, a huge building that evokes a strange feeling of something familiar. That's right, Lady Dimitrescu's castle. This is my inspiration. I took up a pencil and feverishly began to draw the outlines of a huge lady with curvy shapes and a predatory face. So a few minutes pass, and suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I notice a strange girl looking at my notebook. To be honest, I had no idea how long she had been standing there, and I didn't like it very much. As soon as our eyes crossed, the little stalker said with displeasure, "Why are you drawing my mother without her permission?" "Your mom in what way?" After all, this is a character in the game, which I immediately interrupted. And there were reasons for that. The girl deftly grabbed my sketchbook and said, "Now I'm going to show you how to draw my mom without asking." I ran to the backyard of the estate, which had just opened for visitors. Naturally, I had no choice but to rush after her. Your division. All my drawings were there, some of which I treasured very much. And then, less than 2 minutes later, the thief brought me to. Well, no, my eyes were definitely deceiving me. There was a woman standing in the backyard. But to call it ordinary language is not rotated. She was about 2 meters tall, and her face was positively glowing with pallor. Yes, this is Alcina Dimitrescu in real life. Damn her, except that the clothes were different. While I was dumbfounded and became, I stood there unable to move. The girl ran to the woman and said maliciously, pointing at me with her finger, "Look, Mom. This boy decided to draw you without asking, and even in some kind of old rags." Fashionable Dimitrescu's face twisted as soon as she looked at my sketch. What a squalor. See, these scribbles are not willing. Throw them out somewhere soon. For some reason, her words ignited a feeling of anger in me. I'm not going to let some stranger destroy my work. Lady, you have no right to spoil other people's things. This is my work, on which time and effort have been spent. So tell your daughter to give me back my sketchbook. And no one asked for your opinion, shorty. How tall are you? 1.65 m. What's my height? I just want to return your item. And now, please, give it back. No, this garbage belongs in the trash. Come on, get out of here as soon as possible. Realizing that words could not solve the matter, I rushed to my daughter and snatched my property from her hands. Just like a few minutes earlier, she did it. Then, with all speed, he rushed to a small fence that separated the rear, the courtyard of the estate from the outside world. Somewhere behind, an imperious female voice was heard. Go to your sisters, and I'll catch this scoundrel. Then there were heavy footsteps, sounding closer and closer to me. There was no time to open the door, so I decided to jump through the fence, but Dimitrescu's mother has almost caught up with me. The woman swung in an attempt to grab my arm, but missed, painfully scratching my wrist with long claws. The adrenaline helped me to endure the pain, and I was still able to overcome the fence. What can't you say about the lady? She also tried to jump over, but her great height and clumsiness did not allow her to do so. Dimitrescu crashed to the ground with a typical Roblox exclamation. But there was no time for fun from such a funny sound. So I kept running, for now I didn't meet my teacher with the whole class. After hearing my story, she immediately called the police and told the children not to go far. When the cops arrived, they also listened to my testimony, and a group of several people went to the backyard. I was scared as hell, but 5 minutes later law enforcement officers appeared with a jaundice in handcuffs and 3 children, who were following their mother and crying. Before squeezing into the back seat of a police car, the modern lady Dimitrescu looked at me threateningly and tried something. A little later, an article appeared on the local news site of that town about a single mother who insanely resembled the character of the last Resident Evil and who sometimes abuses illegal substances. I'm a mother against an axe-wielding war veteran. To begin with, I'll tell you a little about my beloved. I am a disabled veteran who works as an administrator at a school. I was wounded while serving in Iraq, after which my peaceful path as a teacher began. Or rather, not quite so. From the moment I became a citizen, I began to be haunted by the consequences of the war, breathing problems, post-traumatic stress disorder, and numerous bodily injuries, among which the most serious were injuries to both kneecaps. I'm not going to lie. They provided me with free medical care, having performed several operations on my long-suffering knees. But the doctors failed to completely cure them. Since then, I have been forced to move around using a cane. But still, this has its advantages. For example, I have already collected a whole collection of different types of canes, many of which can be safely called a separate work of art. One of my most favorite I rightfully consider a cane made in the shape of an axe and cast from steel. It looks brutal and unrealistically cool. By the way, this gift was presented to me by one of the students of the school where I worked. There were a few awkward moments when the cane was really confused with the axe. But I think the most unpleasant case is with her. I'm a mother. This happened last year during my weekly shopping at a local Walmart. Before taking the grocery cart and getting down to business, I decided to eat at McDonald's, which was located in the same building. Still, the mood with a full stomach is much better. Although one can argue with this, I made an order consisting of Diet Coke, along with oatmeal cookies, and sat down at the nearest empty table, stretching my legs with relief. A few meters away from me sat a mother with 2 children. Both were teenage boys. As far as I could tell, one was about 14 and the other 15. They looked like Beavis and Bat-Head. But anyway, as I slowly devoured my food, I studied historical fiction. The authorship of a certain Evgeny Panasenkov, who caught my eye in a bookstore. So passed a few minutes of peace and tranquility, which is suddenly disrupted by the very children, without asking who took my cane axe. One of them was saying something to his brother, like, "Let's take this stick from the guy." Post-traumatic stress disorder, I abruptly jumped up and almost drew his gun, but stopped in time, sticking my hand out of the holster. Fortunately, no one noticed this, although I significantly frightened the boys by getting up without warning and turning in their direction. They stared at me in surprise for a couple more seconds and then rushed to their mother. I didn't say anything to them and just sat down, trying to calm my pounding heart. Forget about the horrors of the war in Iraq. Less than a minute later, a woman came up to me. "Masha, of these two, why the hell did you send my kids away, huh? You know, girl, your kids wanted to steal my cane." Without thinking, I decided not to mention his short-lived intent to pull the barrel and put it in. Moreover, I didn't chase them away, but just got up from my seat. I, the mother, clucked with displeasure and headed for the cash register. It seemed to me that the conflict was over, when suddenly out of the corner of my ear, I heard the words of a woman. "This ignoramus is bullying my children. Do something." Well, no, I didn't sign up for this. Now I was even afraid to imagine the scale of the scandal. If the teenagers had noticed my attempt to get a gun, it was decided to get out of McDonald's as soon as possible and start shopping. And that's when I left your bags in the luggage room to get in the supermarket. I was approached by a Walmart employee. Greeted him and said, "You complained. They say you walk around the mall with an axe and threaten people. Are you talking about my cane? There's no way I would use her for a threat." The employee simply nodded and left. But the troubles did not end there. Already at the time when I was walking with a grocery cart and filling it with purchases, two policemen appeared on the horizon. One of them took a step forward and started a dialogue with me. "Good afternoon, mister. You are suspected of antisocial behavior towards minors. Please explain yourself." But there was nowhere to go, so I began to explain everything. First of all, now I'm leaning on my cane, not an axe. This is not a cold weapon. But touching on the subject of weapons, I have a revolver that has never been taken out of its holster yet. I have a firearms license in my pocket. Shall I show you? The policeman nodded, and without any sudden movements, I took out the necessary document, along with the barrel, holding it by the muzzle. "And now, please, lend us your cane for a while." Passing the gift of my student to the guardian of law and order, I drew attention to a person standing on the sidelines. It was me, the mother, Ariana, describing to the second cop how I threatened her children with this axe, and even cursed in addition to the whole McDuck. When the search was over, the police visibly relaxed and asked me to describe what happened, but from my point of view. At the moment when my story reached Beavis and Bat-Head, who intended to steal my cane, their mother intervened in the conversation. "Stop talking nonsense. Look at that, it's slander. Violation of the law. Ma'am, please calm down. Let us hear the man's testimony." The lady reluctantly fell silent, and I finished my story. At the end, offering to check the surveillance cameras. Because of a few minutes of standing without a normal support, my knees ached. So I started swaying a little from side to side. One of the cops, seeing this, left for a while, and then returned with a folding chair, taken, based on his words, with the permission of the manager of the institution. I thanked him, and sat down with relief, to the accompaniment of indignant sounds of every morning. And finally, after rechecking my documents, the police said that everything was fine with me. But the woman still needs to be sorted out. One of them complimented the cool design of my cane, on the basis of which we chatted a little more. It turned out that he also served in cancer, and would be happy to discuss the hardships of service over a beer. But work is waiting. After this pleasant conversation, the cops, along with Yaz's mother, left with the words, "If this woman and her children bother you again, just let us know. Just the same, she faces punishment for slander." After shopping, I went out to the parking lot and headed for my pickup truck, when suddenly I heard a familiar, unpleasant voice. It was the culprit of today's incident. Standing next to a poisonous pink car, with a couple of teenagers sitting in the passenger seats, she loudly complained to someone that because of some cripple, she was fined, and precious time was taken away. At first I didn't really want to draw attention to myself, but the click of the cane still betrayed my presence. I, the mother, turned in the direction of the sound, and immediately winced when she saw me. She yelled a couple of expletives and showed shooting middle finger while I was putting groceries in the trunk of my car. To be honest, I didn't like her behavior. Therefore, leaving the parking lot, I finally loudly sent the brawler to 3 cheerful letters. After which I hurriedly left before I heard her. The answer. Mom gave my tablet, I gave it to my mother. For context, it's worth adding a few clarifications. I am a girl, and I recently turned 18. I have been raised and supported all my life by foster parents, who are unusually nice, kind people. They gave me for a birthday iPad, and a special stylus for it, so I can develop my hobby drawing. I was overcome by a really stormy feeling when my parents presented me with a cherished box with a gadget. In my joy, I even burst into tears. However, so did my mother, who immediately rushed to the supermarket for various accessories, such as a cover and protective glass. I also have a friend, let's say her name is Lily. We are on very good terms with her, and she herself is quite a nice person. So to accuse her of anything is simply stupid. By the way, she is also 18. But the main culprit of the celebration is her mother, a narcissistic woman of 38 years old. The spitting image of a witch from children's fairy tales. Let's call her Karen. In addition to her daughter, she also has a 10-year-old son, who also played an important role in history. But about everything in order. Karen is a single mother with typical habits, but I am a mother. She runs an unpopular blog for young moms, and a few years ago, she even tried to start her own children's YouTube channel to make money on toy reviews and stupid challenges. When all this was still popular, a woman is a very spiritual person who firmly believes in karma, conspiracies, and psychics. She keeps her son homeschooled, but she does not call teachers at home, but gives the boy knowledge on his own. Knowledge about how to attract money with cheap soap, fortune telling, and the like. Damn it! The kid is not even trained in writing and counting. I think now we can move on to the main story. A couple of days after my birthday, my friend decided to stop by with her. As soon as the family arrived, my mom invited Karen for coffee, and her son was allowed to play the console. Lily and I decided to settle down in the living room. I immediately showed off my tablet to her, and my friend immediately started asking me about the new gadget. Entering in the same room with us, the iPad did not care at all. But his mother, to be honest, she was staring at us quite strangely from the kitchen. But we ignored it, writing off her view of looking after a young son. So the hours flew by, and the clouds outside the window began to thicken, after which it began to rain. Not just a weak machine, and a shower for the family Karen. Well, nothing could drive home safely. My mother told the woman that she and her son could spend the night in the living room. And we leaked the father in the playroom, who had a rollout. The kid began to whine that he also wanted to go to the playroom, but the entrance to the children there was strictly limited. Dad only let him go there for 16 years because of the abundance of various anime posters with adult and just tough content. Karen was about to protest, but Mom quickly put her in her place. Deciding to do something before going to bed, I took my friend to a kind of workshop located in the basement. There were a lot of my drawings stored there, some of which were really scary. For example, I really liked the work of Junji Ito, so I did not redraw several of his characters, among which there was that same creepy model. I showed it to Leela. After all, we are both just crazy about the aesthetics of this lady. Being inspired to create masterpieces, we decided to draw the most beautiful drawing in 5 minutes. I activated the timer on my tablet, and each of us took turns making strokes on a piece of paper. When the characteristic sound sounded, we stopped and began to examine the resulting sketch. It was a girl and a vampire digging into her neck so she could. To better understand what color palette to use, Lily hung a sheet on the wall, just to match the color of the lamp. During the selection of colors, A loud clicking sound sounded from the entrance to the basement, followed by a wall hitting. Obviously, it was the door that had been recorded a moment before. It's bolted. The curious face of the friend's brother peeked out of the opening, who hurried down to us. We asked him to leave, but he grinned maliciously and shook his head, after which he went to the table and began to scoop up my colored pencils to take them for himself. As soon as Lily went to the little one, he looked up and finally saw our creepy vampire sketch with a girl. It's hard to describe the sound that we heard. It was like a cross between the wail of a dying rabbit and a mosquito squeak, amplified 100 times. After yelling a lot, the boy noticed that his sister was trying to snatch the pencils from him, which he planned to appropriate for himself. His reaction startled both of us worse than a scream. This small just took it, and with all his strength, he nipped my friend by the hand. And when she stepped aside, he ran up the stairs to the door. A few seconds later, Karen's broad figure appeared in the doorway, with a face full of hostility. "What the hell did you do to my son?" "Nothing, Mom. Your son, without the permission, came down here and tried to steal my pencils, which cost a lot of money, so we decided to withdraw it. But he bit Lily's hand." "I don't care about that. Why was my boy screaming? Did you scare him?" They showed something terrible. At that moment, we had no idea that the child was crying because of our collective drawing. We didn't show him anything like that. For some reason, he screamed during the theft of my pencils. "Don't lie to me, little dog, I'm not blind. Just look at the way he looks at that piece of paper." Indeed, the little one was staring at our drawing with fear, ready to cry again. While I was mesmerized by the drawing, trying to figure out how a 10-year-old schoolboy managed to get scared to tears and screams, Karen suddenly appeared next to him, thereby blocking the view of her carcass. She tore the paper off the wall and defiantly covered her mouth with her hands, eyes wide in horror. To be honest, it couldn't have looked more ridiculous. "Does your mother know what kind of heresy you're painting, huh? Answer me." I was stunned such a ridiculous reaction, so I just nodded in response. The woman even more opened his eyes and stared at me. The iPad resting on the table. "The likes of you don't deserve such expensive gadgets." After these words, the maniac grabbed my tablet and was about to leave the basement, but I managed to grab her ample torso, forcibly taking away the coveted iPad. "I'm a mother, of course. You wanted to return the stolen, but then my mother came." She saw him standing before me with an evil grimace, and me, tightly gripping the tablet. I, the mother, immediately burst into a tirade about how I was corrupting her son with disgusting pictures, while demonstrating my leaked drawing. After calmly listening to the woman, my mother turned to her daughter. "Your brother was really forced to watch it." "No, he was stealing pencils. And when I looked up, I saw our work. Before that, it was hanging on the wall." "Oh right. We also bolted the door on purpose. But the brother, apparently, forged it with something. Plus he bit my hand." Lily showed her hand with teeth marks, and her mother sent her upstairs to get a plaster, and then she humbled Karan with a dissatisfied look. "I don't like your and your son's attitude towards my daughter, so I'm sorry, but you need to leave." I swear, my mother's face looked like a ripe tomato at that moment. She seemed ready to explode. "Are you kidding? She forced me to cry my boy. This slouching dog traumatized him. There's nothing wrong with your son. In any case, the door was locked, so he could only get in here with some effort. So you've decided to spit on us, which? If so, then give my son a tablet. Look, he's stressed out. He needs to be calmed down." Mom rolled her eyes, but agreed, which surprised me very much. But she went not to me but to the desktop. She took out a plastic clipboard and handed it to Karen. The woman looked confused and stood there for a few seconds, holding the tablet in her hands, and then angrily threw it on the floor. "No, stupid. I don't need this thing. I want her tablet. It doesn't matter if my son needs it more than your insolent daughter." My mom turned to me and asked what tablet we were talking about. I raised my hand, showing her my iPad. For a moment, her face took on a surprised look. And then, she turned to Karen and stiffness in her voice, told the woman to leave. I, the mother, began to yell at the top of my voice about how disgusting my drawings were. And me too. But my mom's threat to call the police put the psycho in her place. Lily said she was going to stay here at night, to which my mother agreed, and Karen, without saying a word, dragged her offspring to the car. And here is the same drawing from history. I work in a plus-size luxury clothing store. For each holiday, the store managers arrange all possible promotions and discounts. Because without those who like to get everything for beautiful eyes, this period cannot do without. And it's not just women with yazhemat syndrome, alas, but I often met with an inadequate. Some manage to deliberately spoil things in the locker rooms in order to get a discount later. Something we notice, and something, by the way. Unfortunately, we miss it. No one is immune from such situations. Last Christmas was no exception. This time, the company's executives decided to arrange a rather generous promotion. When purchasing goods in the amount of $400 or more, an additional certificate is issued for another $500, which is valid for 2 weeks from the date of purchase. The action lasted for almost a month from 1st December to 25th December. Only 5 certificates were issued per day, and in order to weed out freeloaders, the store managers called and said when, in fact, to start the action. That is, from the moment of the call, the first 5 buyers received the certificate. In addition to this promotion, there were also 10% discounts for all buyers. It was a very successful campaign, as there was no end of customers all December. Especially clever ones could wander around our store for hours or sit right in front of it, waiting for that cherished call. And now it was December 25th, Christmas, and a huge angry crowd at the store. We had a group of women, strangers to each other, who usually took 80% of all certificates. They usually came in the morning and waited, where only they had the time and money. It remains a mystery to me. And now to the story itself. On the last day of the campaign, the manager receives a call. And I remind you that this is a plus-size clothing store, and only we have some sizes. And now, there is the last cherished certificate. Just an incredible queue. Clothes were swept away like hotcakes. Of course, the last certificate was just a life-and-death battle. The participants in the conflict, as you may have guessed, were 2 yazhmater. In front of them was our regular customer, who really deserves this coupon, as she often buys from us. And at the same time is very courteous and nice. This aged lady always lifts our spirits and brightens our day. And now it's her turn, and she shouts after her. I'm the mother, let it be number 2. Since she stands for I'm the mother number 1. My dear, could you give up your place in the queue to a mother with many children? You must be an understanding woman. Do you know how hard it is to raise such an arava? And this coupon would be just right for me. I would bring my daughter, who dreams of a new dress. And why should it give way to you? And why, for example, not me? I told you that I am a mother of 3 children. I see that she is quite capable of making such a generous gift. I also have 3 children, and I deserve this coupon more. Why is that? Because I'm ahead of you. Yes, but unlike you, I am not sitting on the neck of the state. And how did you figure that out? Because all blacks are sitting on the neck of the state. You're freaking out, I'm going to sue you in general. And the black woman tries to push her opponent every time, but she evades. And then, finally, the same lady enters into the argument. Let there be a regular customer. Quiet, girls, why did you decide that I would give you this certificate? Yes, I am quite wealthy, and this amount will not affect my budget in any way. But I also have an unknown gray matter in my brain. There is clearly more of it than you have, and that's why you won't get the coupon. And you are not ashamed to flaunt your wealth in front of poor women. Apparently, for the rich, the word generosity is unknown. Why is it unknown? Right now I'm going to give this certificate to one of the saleswomen, and she hands it to our Leela, who was in the body, and this coupon would just be useful to her. Oh girl, you probably have a discount in this store. Don't give a certificate to a mom with 3 children. No, I remember you very well, and I know that you received this coupon at least once a week. Oh, so, then wait for a complaint to your management. You'll be fired tomorrow. I wonder why. And at least for damage to property. And then she knocked down the counter with the goods and just started jumping on the clothes and tearing it. And pressing number 1 held her in this. However, the store's security detained these besprettelshits. The case did not go to court, as surprisingly they agreed to pay compensation. And our boss even made us publicly apologize to us. I'm a mother for Christmas. Just a couple of days ago, that is, the day before Christmas, a very strange situation occurred, which still causes me mixed feelings. My friend from the university invited me to his place for the holidays. We used to rent the same apartment with him and spent a lot of time together. But this is a lyrical digression. He disappeared for a long time when he had a wife and a son. His family, by the way, is just incredible. The beautiful wife cooks deliciously, a wonderful and caring doctor. And also, very importantly, an adequate and wise mother. It is therefore natural that the son they turned out wonderful small. His 4 years, he understands such words well, as it is necessary and impossible. For history, it is important to note that he has gorgeous blonde hair, which his parents do not cut off much. It cannot be said that they are very long. Rather, his hairstyle is made in the style of a long pot. His curls, which his mother constantly admires, add a special charm to him. And now we have already sat down for dinner, we communicate well and have fun. Time. And then someone knocked. Tim, my friend, opened the door, and a woman of indeterminate age came in. Sally, my friend's wife, started insulting me from the threshold. You know that your child infected the whole group in the scar. Now because of you, my Tara is crying because she had to cut her beautiful hair. I thought you were unfavorable. Already for this tirade, it seemed to me that it was possible to safely kick this lady out of the house, or at least make a scandal. But my friends calmly and even with a smile said that their son had been with his grandmother for 2 weeks, so she was wrong. Then the lady didn't even apologize. Can you imagine? She immediately began to tell a story about how her daughter was worried about having to cut her hair, and now it's short. Sally comforted her and was again very nice and courteous. And then she blurts out a completely strange phrase, which was very inappropriate. I think it would be right if your son cut his hair too. It's just that my girl is already worried about the fact that her beautiful hair was cut. And then there's the boy's hair will be longer than hers. I understand everything perfectly, but your girl's hair will grow back quickly, so I won't cut my son's hair because of this. But your boyfriend's hair will grow back quickly too. He's a boy, and as a gentleman, he has to do so that my daughter doesn't get upset. Moreover, I often see that children cut their hair in support of those kids who are undergoing chemotherapy. And, well, you know that oncology and lice are different things. Don't dramatize the situation. This is a common thing. Children often pick up shay. Well, you know, I thought you were a decent woman, but you're an individual and selfish. If you want it bad, it will be bad for you. I'm going to set all the moms in our group on you, so you'll have to comply. With that, she left, slamming the door loudly. But don't worry about my friends. Salia told me that this crazy woman managed to go to all the parents whose children were not infected, and with screams and scandal, demanded that the grandfather also cut his hair. A month later, the girl was expelled from the garden, because that half-witted mother, for another reason, literally demolished the office, and arranged a grandiose conflict for the educators. God, I feel sorry for that girl. Imagine what it's like because only she suffers because of these quarrels. Again, I'm a mother at McDonald's. I work at McDonald's. And yes, it's the most beastly job that can be, especially for someone like me. To be clear, I have been disabled since I was 12. It was at this age that I fell ill with meningitis, which gave a complication to the ears, which caused me to completely lose my hearing. Since this tragedy happened already at a conscious age, I can speak normally by lip reading, and I know sign language. I usually serve customers at express ticket offices, but that day I was sent to the hall. Of course, it was much easier for me there. By the way, I worked on Christmas night. And I will tell you this is very difficult, since buyers during this period are surprisingly a lot. And of course, it does not do without the mother's Yahtzee. Sometimes it seems to me that they have a gas station in Mac, since not a day has passed without a conflict with these ladies. And now another one of them comes up to me with her child, and tries to make an order, burying her face in the phone. I can't make out her words because I can't see her lips. Lady, I'm deaf, and I can only make out your words by your lips. So could you repeat the order, looking me in the face, please? Well, of course, the mag recruit the most offended by nature, and not the smartest. I made out these words, and I was very offended because of this. But I suppressed resentment, because I am an adequate person, unlike some. So, I need 2 vanilla cokes, and that free toy for my son. Oh no, that toy is not free. It is issued only when ordering a Happy Meal. You're not stupid, you don't understand. My son wants a toy. I'll call the manager and have you thrown out. There's nothing I can do. Toys are given out only when ordering certain products. I'm sorry. I don't care about your apologies. Then the manager comes up and says that it's okay, let him take the toy. We don't need scandals, and even more so, today is Christmas. A child's joy. I consulted with the manager, and they allowed me to give you a toy in honor of the holiday. It would have been so long ago. I give them empty glasses and tubes. We have all drinks that cost $1. That is, you pay, and with a check you approach the cooler, where you need to get a drink yourself, as much as you want. And then I'm a mother just explodes. Why did you give me empty glasses? I completely lost my conscience. Woman, we do not pour drinks at the checkout. There's a cooler in the corner of the hall. For this price, you can pour as much cola as you need. Am I some kind of waitress for you? I paid you, so I quickly went and dialed. He took me to Coke's. Then Annie, a colleague, comes up and says that she will now collect glasses of Coke herself, and the conflict seems to have come to naught. On the way to the coolers, I also kicked the poor old lady, because her wand kind of interferes with her. While the drinks were being collected, her son was standing near the cash register, and constantly insulted me of all kinds. Hurtful words. It was very unpleasant, but I had to endure it all. Since I really needed a job and money, I am a mother returning for her son. It would have been like this for a long time, but I will complain to the authorities anyway. Since everyone needs to figure out how to treat moms with children correctly, she turns around proudly and heads off to the exit. And there, as she lifted her head straight up to the ceiling, she did not notice how that same grandmother put her wand in front of her. Because of this, I, the mother, plopped down on the floor and spilled Coke all over the hall. And here's karma, an unscrupulous boor. She tried to yell at her, but maybe came forward. It is possible the grandson of this lady, who was of impressive size. This was enough for me to quickly leave McDonald's as a mother. After this incident, I decided to quit anyway, because I don't like being constantly humiliated by people like this. Later, I got a job with a wealthy family as a gardener. There was less money, but on the other hand, I didn't meet with the ladies every day anymore. Russian mat against American every day. Immediately Remarachka. The actions took place before the quarantine, so please do not throw slippers at me. Now I, as a submissive citizen, sit at home and stick to Reddit. By the way, I'm a dude from Russia. I was born there and speak this language fluently. Now I live in America and have learned English perfectly. But I think I am always in my native language. That's right, preface. That day I went to visit my friends and decided to drive there by bus. By the way, spoiler alert, it was a bad idea. In short, I, as the main loser of that day, took my place exactly where the mother and son got hot at the next stop. I was sitting in my new AirPods and listening to songs, and the music was playing very loud, and, unfortunately, it interested the little one. His head turned so slowly, like in a horror movie, and I saw those terribly interested eyes. Give me. I heard it, but I ignored it anyway. He started pushing me sideways harder and harder. I take off my headphones. What? I want music. Sorry, baby, I won't give you my headphones. Immediately after these words, I, a child, according to the classics of the genre, began to sob loudly. Although, it would seem, why? To these loud signals, a huge piece of anger in the form of my mother's self reacted with lightning speed. Although before that, she didn't seem to show any signs of life. What? Why is he crying? What did you tell him? Have you offended him? No, your kid wants to listen to music in my AirPods. I'm afraid he won't like her at all. So I refused him. No, my son is the future Leonardo da Vinci. He loves music very much, and will soon go to music school. Don't you dare refuse to listen to music to a young talent. I'm sorry, but no, they are expensive, and the music I listen to is not suitable for children. My buns perfectly understood the threat in front of me, so they sent enough signals to the brain, so that my speech came out as much as possible, calm and not rude, but you can't get off with so little blood. I, the mother, continued to insist and repeat louder and louder, attracting more and more attention. Give my son headphones, now he's crying because of you. She began to move into the stage of aggression, and my role started. A signal that the headphones need to be placed in a safe place. It started to hang me up, so I packed them in a protective case. This made her even more angry. Give me your headphones, where did you hide them? At this stage, my buns turned to steel and turned on the distress signal. But I didn't want to get up, so as not to attract too much attention. But it was worth it. It happened inevitably. I, the mother, started trying to snatch the headphones out of my hands. At that moment, I had a few obscene words in Russian. And on it I said, "Leave me alone, fuck off." What did you just say? It was Russian now. You spoke Russian. He's Russian. Looking back, I realized that the lady actually had troubles with her head. It's a spy. He was sent to us by the Russian government. He's a spy. Detain him. Thank God we arrived at the bus stop. I quickly made my way through the crowd and managed to run out of the bus while all the passengers stared at her in despair. You don't need products for self-isolation because you don't have children in roles. I squeeze 1, squeeze 2, squeeze 3, baby 1, baby 2. To begin with, I would like to tell the background. Our town is small and is in quarantine mode for only a few days. Schools and offices have been closed, but grocery stores are still operating normally. Although all the products are swept away in the blink of an eye by panicking individuals. Yesterday, the doorbell rang around 9:30 a.m. I checked the Circle app and saw a neighbor's child about 5 years old, standing on the porch in front of the camera. I clicked conversation to reply. Hello, baby. Hello. Mom said you'd give me food. I was incredibly embarrassed and surprised. I have no idea what your mom is talking about. Maybe she was wrong. You're definitely not at the wrong address. Mom said you have food for me that you want to give away. I'm sorry, but I have no idea where she got that from. I'm sure your mother has enough food for you. At your house. After the refusal, I had the most unpleasant aftertaste on my soul after I had to refuse the baby. Okay, goodbye. He waved at the camera and left. I didn't think about this situation because this child was known for his stormy imagination and the fact that he invented everything. So I went back to bed. After 2 hours, the doorbell rang again. And when I checked it, there were already 2 children standing there. One of my neighbor, who lived across one street from me. The other lives on the next street. I communicated with them again through the app. Hello, kids. Did you want anything? Hello. Our moms sent us and said you want to give us food. I was surprised again and quickly refused them. They didn't mind and went about their business. When the children left the territory of the house, I sent a message to the mothers of those kids with the text, "Your child came to my house," with the words that you sent him to me for food. Of course, I have nothing left for your children. Why are you lying to children? How about all this food in your warehouse? There's a lot of everything. Enough to feed my son. Why do you think I should share it with anyone? You have a lot of food you can share. You've shared it before, about 4 months ago. At that time, I treated the neighbors simply because we had a nephew, and I wanted to share the holiday with the whole world, so to speak. But now all the products in the warehouse are necessary for my family and are not designed for anyone else. But nevertheless, you have a lot of it. I could share it with the kids. I don't have that kind of happiness myself. There's no way you can understand us. I repeat again, this is exclusively for my family. The stores are still open and should not close. If you need food, you will have to try your luck to find everything you need there. Or we could just come and take your things and food by force. Yeah, I doubt you can stop us or do anything about it. All 3 of them know about my problems with health and movement. Try it, ladies, and I'll be waiting for you in the driveway with a shotgun, an evil Rottweiler, and my even more evil husband. How dare you threaten us? You're not even a mom. You, dear, threatened to steal my property, so I'm just responding in kind. What an arrogant and self-confident bitch you are. Oh no, you insulted me by calling me a bad word. I think I'm going to cry. I'd rather drown my sadness by eating all these delicious snacks that are stored in the warehouse. Lol. They didn't write anything else in response. But I heard from one of my neighbors that I was the mother of one who complained to everyone who came to hand that I was a selfish person. Who made her child starve? Several people asked her why she was trying to take food away from a sick person. I have several chronic diseases that do not allow me to lead an active lifestyle and tie me to home. Despite the fact that she buys clothes for herself in the most expensive stores every 2 weeks, she had no answer to such facts, and soon this person stopped complaining about me. In the end, T's mother went to the store to buy groceries, but she was very angry because of the incredibly long queues. She stayed there for about an hour. If you're a relative, I'm a mother, then I have to work for free. At the end of the story, give me an answer to this question. I really did something wrong. but about everything in order. I'm a babysitter, and my pay is $20 an hour. This is quite a bit for the country where I live, New Zealand, where the minimum wage is $17 minus 50. And I'm like a babysitter with experience. I work in a wonderful family with one 7-year-old child. I really like this child, and I don't complain about my work at all. The story won't be about him. I have an aunt who knows perfectly well what I do and how I make a living. Really, why not take advantage of it, right? As you may have guessed, my aunt has 3 children. In general, this woman has her own nanny, but she sent me a message on Thursday evening, in which it was said that her nanny was ill. She needs my babysitting services. For a second, my aunt has 3 children, 2 5 years old, and 1 7-year-old. She asked me to pick up the kids the next morning. I called my boss back and explained the situation, and he agreed to give me a day off. Well, what can I say? I told you that they are the most good people. My aunt needed me to be a nurse for them for 5 hours, and we agreed on the price of $60 for all 3 of us for the whole day. She was not satisfied with this price and even angered. But after a few minutes, she came to a conclusion that she had no other choice, and she agreed to this amount. The moment of truth came, the day when I had to juggle. Me to such life did not prepare because her children are still very distressed and irritable. It was hard, but I coped. I won't describe all their mockery, that's not the point. When her husband returned home, and it came to payment, he claimed that 60 was too much, and offered me 20. I replayed in my head all that I had to go through during these 5 hours, and realized that I was not ready to humiliate myself like that. He started complaining and spitting about how arrogant and ungrateful I was. Are you seriously ready to rip off money from your own relatives? What do you mean? We agreed on everything with your wife, and she agreed to the price of $60. This is a great discount because I don't usually work with so many children. But these are your nieces. You have to do on their own to sit with them for free. But you asked me to sit with them on my working day. And believe me, I didn't get much pleasure from it, because they didn't behave very well. Do not forget that the job of a nanny is not just to sit with children, but also to arrange interesting and useful leisure time for them to feed, change clothes, keep order, and so on. He didn't answer me, but just called his wife, and was indignant for a long time on the phone, but in the end, he paid me the required $60. Now they are spreading rumors to the whole family about what a scoundrel I have become, and that I am an impudent, greedy infection. In the end, it turned out that their nanny did not get sick, but quit because of how terrible her children were. How my diarrhea was neutralized by my mother. I needed to buy toilet paper, so I went to the first store that caught my eye. In it, I was able to purchase all the products that were needed at home. But there were no those most cherished rolls. Visited another store, the third one didn't. Finally, I get on the highway and drive 30 minutes to 7. Got to the nearest gas station. There is a local supermarket nearby. There, on the shelves, under the red glow of a giant apple, I found a 4-pack of toilet paper, to 27 pieces in each. The only packs in the store. The only packages within a few miles. I was lucky, I found a treasure, guys. Curiously, there were several customers with carts. I only needed one thing, so I didn't take it, who were always in the vicinity of this place, as if they were patrolling, if I may say so. It was as if they were cruising in a small orbit around it. These toilet paper packages, one I was looking ahead, and the other was looking at the shelf with the goods. I got the feeling that no one wanted to be the first to capture the coveted prey. And I buried one of these packages so quickly, like a flash of lightning that had just flashed. Faster than an accelerating bullet. Deadlier blow than the female praying mantis. I like being a winner, guys. He clutched my precious toilet paper in his hands so that even his knuckles turned white, and hurried to the buzzing swarm of bees. Sorry, customers at the checkout. Immediately, one of the orbital patrolmen, a middle-aged woman with a half-full cart, starts chasing me. She rushed after me and shouted, "Hey, I need this. I have small children, it's mine. Don't ignore me, you don't dare take away my goods. You don't need it, I have kids." I do not know what happens to such clients. But they seem to only want what other people have. Despite the fact that there were 3 unclaimed 27-pack bags on the shelf, none of the other buyers made an attempt to take them. This woman only wanted the one I took. My guess is that a strange woman could not accept that some man was ahead of her and dared to take toilet paper from the shelf when her children needed it so much. This action has jammed her internal mechanism so much. I can't understand how she guessed that I didn't have a damn dozen good Christian children at home. Anyway, I'm still moving towards the checkout, and she's still shouting after me. I have kids, stop ignoring me. The lady follows literally on the heels, about 10 feet behind, without closing her mouth for a minute. Finally, I got tired of it. I've had enough of the cheap circus. It's going to be a real show. And I turn around, and it's loud enough for half of the store's customers to hear. I shout out the first thing that came to my mind, and I have diarrhea. It worked instantly. The woman's eyes widened. The temple broke off. She stopped and froze in one place, like an idol. Then, without saying a word, the discouraged customer turned around and went back to the shelves from where she came. I managed to get to the checkout without further incident. In fact, after my announcement, almost everyone present kept a decent distance. I paid off, ran to my car, clutching the package I had obtained by failure, as if it were the Ark of the Covenant, and headed home to fight my non-existent diarrhea. Imagine my shock when I showed up at home and saw my roommate proudly showing off a pair of rolls. Toilet paper, which he managed to find just a 10-minute walk from our apartment on the first attempt. Give your mother the hand sanitizer immediately. Last week, my mom sent me to the store not only to shop for our family, but also for the neighbor's family, too. The list of necessary goods included hand sanitizer, which has become a shortage. Since some people are crazy buyers and are ready to do anything just to get the thing in demand in large quantities. I went into the store, assuming that there was nothing left of this kind of goods, but I was able to find a couple, albeit small in volume bottles of hand sanitizer. On the shelf stood a sign, in which it was written, 1 bottle of antiseptic on the family. I asked the store employee if it would be normal if I took 2 bottles, one for my family, the second for the neighbors. I got the consent and continued shopping. When I decided to buy bagels and went to the bread department, I noticed crumbs scattered everywhere. A piece of bread was torn off. Suddenly, a woman came up to me and lightly hit me on the shoulder. I was startled, because I didn't notice her approach behind me. She spoke quickly. "Excuse me, I'm going to move a little." But the lady looked at me sternly, then asked, "Why do you have 2 bottles of hand sanitizer in your basket? Only 1 per family is issued. I'm shopping for 2 families right now." I find the bagels I wanted to buy, put them in my cart, and continue to choose products for families and friends. I slowly move away from the curious woman. While I was looking through the grocery list, she jumped up to me, grabbed my shoulders with her hands, and pulled me away from my cart. The aunt angrily shouted, "Hey, you shouldn't have 2 bottles of antiseptic for your hands. According to the rules, you can only take 1 per family." I shook off other people's hands because I don't like being grabbed by strangers, and answered, "I'm shopping for 2 families." The crazy one looks at my cart and grins. She reaches out and grabs 1 bottle. Brazenly declares, "I'm a mother, damn it. I need it more than you need some youngsters. I need this for my kids. And there's nothing left on the shelf because of you. So I'll just take this one." I quickly grabbed a cheek in hand and snatched the bottle from her grasping fingers. She put the recovered goods back into the cart and began to leave hurriedly. At the same moment, a scream rang out behind me. "Stop her. She just stole my thing from me, a thief. Will someone detain her?" A store employee hurried to me and asked what happened. An angry client ran up to us and, pointing at me with her finger, spoke nervously. "This kid takes 2 bottles of disinfectant for 1 family, and there's nothing left, but I need 1 too. First of all, I'm not a child. Secondly, I make additional purchases for a friend of our family who cannot leave his home due to a violation of the immune system." Store employee just sighs after this explanation. He turned to me. "All right, girl, you can go. We apologize for the inconvenience." I leave, but I hear an indignant woman screaming and scolding this store employee. I finished shopping and left the store. The family of neighbors thanked me for the delivered products and was happy. Finally, to disinfectant 4 hands, as well as my mom. But I'm a mom at a funeral. It happened at my aunt's funeral. I was in a large room, the funeral home, where there was a coffin with my aunt. I was sitting in a chair away from everyone else, and my dad was sitting in the same chair a couple of feet away from me. The funeral service hasn't started yet. Young children, not realizing the drama of the situation, played and ran. It was quite a large room. I understand that it's not just children and could not think of another occupation. One child got tired and wanted to sit in my chair. He was a rather spoiled and capricious boy. He stood up next to me and said, I'm very tired and I want to sit down. Stand up. No, I sat down here first and am waiting for the service to begin. Dissatisfied with this answer, the kid threw a tantrum. He really wanted to sit in my chair. In the end, the boy's mother came running. She heard her son crying and hysterical. Mom started an investigation. Baby, why are you crying? This guy won't let me sit in his chair. I'm very tired and I want to rest. The woman looked at me. She was ready to incinerate the abuser of her son. Why didn't you get up? Is it difficult for you to give in to a small child? A big guy like you can stand up. Because I've been sitting here since the first second I walked into this room, ma'am. And I'm waiting for the service to begin. And I think my son can sit in this chair for a while instead of you. No, I took it first, and I'm not going to give your son a place to rest after his running around. A boy should be more respectful, like all other children. This is not a playground. I bet you personally don't even know the deceased name. I was deeply offended by this statement. At that moment, my dad turned in our direction to listen to what was going on. He looked at the woman and asked in surprise, "What is going on here? This impudent youngster, an ill-mannered brat, does not allow it. My son should sit in this chair." I was very angry with this answer. My ego was badly hurt. First of all, I am 17 years old, and I am the closest relative. Your son is the real spoiled brat, Dad calmly explained to the shameless mother. My son was here first, and you have no right to call him that. The guy was offended when you said that he didn't know his own aunt. Maybe because I really didn't realize that he was related. What's wrong with that? In the end, my mom came up and asked the unpleasant woman to leave because she made a scandal. A scene at such a sad moment. Neighbor, and it was she, the evil said, "Well, I don't want to attend those stupid funeral." Suddenly, a violent kid hit me and spat in my direction. I began to rise slowly and stood over the rascal to my full height. This movement scared him a lot. The mother grabbed her blockhead and quickly ran out of the funeral home. My mom was furious. Many of those present saw the ugly trick. Of course, I really wanted to properly flog a young bully. However, the punishment was deserved by the mother, wrongly educating my son. If you are a volunteer, then you have no right to go to the store. Background: I'm a volunteer at our local medical center. I did it first out of simple curiosity to see how it would be. Now I really like this hobby. At the moment, my tasks are to visit stores to buy the necessary goods for people who are not able to serve themselves personally. Those who have badges certifying work at the hospital can get a discount during quarantine. And since my parents are doctors, I decided to go with them and buy all the products at a discount to save others a little. People have money. My parents and I came to the store in masks. We were all let inside. I was wearing a volunteer badge. To clarify, I am not in contact with infected people now, so as not to endanger my wards. Everything was fine. We just walked around the departments, bought food for our wards, and went home. My mom was asked to buy frozen fruit. I decided to take the package too, because I like to mix fruit with protein shakes. Just as I was bending over to the refrigerator to pick up frozen strawberries, a customer without a mask on her face stopped by me. She looked closely at me and saw my volunteer badge. A woman asked me a question. "Shouldn't you be at home? Why are you asking me this? You're a volunteer assistant. Why are you shopping around? You're a threat to my child. Just like you. Why didn't you put on a mask and follow the rules of social distancing? I came for products. I have a permit and a paid job." These words hurt me. And how does your paid job relate to the fact that you do not follow the rules? Why are you being impertinent to me, youngster? I can see that you're just using your advantage and endangering mine. A child. My mom comes up here. What's going on here? Finally, a real medical worker. Can you tell this kid to get out of here? Yes, after that, hopes for a peaceful resolution of the situation were shattered. How dare you even talk to my son like that? At that moment, something clearly clicked in my mom's head as she rushed away from us with madly bulging eyes. I'm a dad and a drone. In order to tell the story, I'll start with the background. I work as a developer for a drone company. I was very lucky with my superiors, as they take care of employees and create comfortable working conditions. They sometimes give generous gifts to the best of the best. So it was with me this Christmas. The bosses, as the best employee, were presented with the largest drone, using the latest technologies. Of course, you can't just buy such a toy in a store. I will remember this gift for a very long time. And now about my family. I am happily married to the most amazing woman, who gave me a lovely daughter 8 years ago. We named her Betty. This is a very cheerful and active child. We always thought she would be mom's ponytail, but no, she was just as interested in drones as I was. Since the age of 3, she can easily manage them. However, despite her activity, she does not know how to defend herself. No matter how much I teach her, giving back is a difficult task for her. In the future you'll understand why I mention it. When I came home on Christmas Eve with this drone home, Betty seemed to take off with joy. She was just waiting for us to have free time to launch it in the park with me. And so the next morning, after December 25th, we decided to test our toy. There were a lot of people in our favorite park, but we know a secluded place where you can fly without prying eyes. When we got there, there were a lot fewer people there, just a couple of families, no more. But of course we didn't pay any attention to anyone. After some time, I decided to relax on the bench, immersed in my favorite book, while my daughter further understands the new drone. But before I had time to sit down, a rather obese child appeared out of nowhere and just brazenly pushed my daughter. Naturally, the control panel flew out of her. The child picks it up and tries to press all the buttons at once. I reacted quickly, but before I could run up, the kid throws the control panel into the grass and runs away in fear. I'm checking to see if everything is all right with my daughter. Thank God, there was not a single scratch. Then I pick up the remote control, lower the drone to the ground, and put it in a container. But I decided not to leave the kid without punishment. It was not difficult for me to find this child, since he was clumsily hiding behind his dad. Man, I'm talking to Dad. Your child has just offended my daughter. So what's with that? He's a kid, he's stronger, and has the right. Why does he have the right? I'm stronger too. So I can push and bully your son. So it turns out, man, what do you even want from me? Your girl will often snatch from the boys. This is normal. Let him learn to endure. Dad, it's not my fault. It was she who offended me. She just didn't want to share her toy. You see, if I could share, I would do without pain. This is our thing. We can decide for ourselves whether to give it to someone or not. You've lost your conscience altogether. I can't help it. The strongest survives. Therefore, if my son is stronger and he wants your toy, he will have it. And I will not interfere. Son, do you want a toy? Go get it, I'll let you. And then this little bastard went to my daughter. I wanted to block his way, but before I could react, my Betty just hits him in the groin with the words, "The strongest wins, doesn't it, sir?" The kid screams like a cut. I'm Dad shouting for us to apologize. But I decided that there is no more epic ending to this story than this. And we just left quietly. I immediately bought her favorite ice cream and praised her for finally being able to protect. Self-edited. Thank you all very much for your comments and worries about me. I will immediately answer everyone who asks if I had any problems because of this couple in the future. There are no subpoenas, no police, and nothing at all has flown to me. Apparently, one blow from my Betty was enough for them. Moreover, it seems to me that we did not violate anything, so they could only watch us leave in triumph for the development. I am an ordinary schoolboy, so I have never met with the yazhmateri, and thought that they did not exist at all. This is all an invention of people with a rich imagination. That's what I thought until recently, until I met one such lady myself. So, I'll tell you a little background. I've been friends with a black guy Anthony since junior high school. He is a very smart and kind person. We got together with him not only because of his angelic character, but also we realized that the two of us just adore baseball. We played together and visited her. However, we mostly got seats in the very last row, as they were cheaper. And now Anthony's 14th birthday was approaching. I thought for a long time what to give him, but no idea came to mind. And then my father comes and says that he has a coupon for a good discount on tickets in the first row. Baseball in the semifinals. Usually these tickets cost $1,004 to people, but at a discount, it turned out to be $500. Can you imagine getting to the semifinal game in the first place? It was our dream. My parents told me that this opportunity should not be missed, so they decided to add the missing amount. I already had the tickets on the same day. The game was right on Anthony's birthday. So I immediately ran to him after the purchase to give him a gift. He was overjoyed. We counted the days before the game and dreamed that time would speed up a little. And here is day X. We bought a bunch of goodies came. Half an hour before the game. We just couldn't wait to take our Trump places. Baseball is in full swing. We're having fun epic moment. And in front of us, there is just a huge woman who blocks the view. We were just beside ourselves with anger. Lady, could you please take your seat? We can't see anything because of you. Anything, be patient. I'm also going to worry about some teenagers. Moreover, one of them is black. I'm going to call security now. You have no right to stand here at all. This area can only be accessed by passes. So, don't bother watching the game. I'll stand here as long as I want. And anyway, it's my baby's birthday today, so we both got up and went to the gallery. Let my child enjoy the game. Why would that be? We paid a lot of money for these places, so you have no right to kick us out. Mary, can you come over here? And then we see that a stadium employee approaches us. It immediately became clear to us how she got here without a pass. Mary, these boys don't want to give up my son's place. It's actually his birthday, guys. Let's be nice, leave the seats. After all, the child has a holiday. It's my friend's birthday too, and we paid for these seats. You understand that I can transfer you wherever I want. I work here, and if I say that you are violating the order, they will believe me and may even kick you out. But then our neighbor, a man of 45-50 years old, intervenes in the conversation. Let's call him a gentleman. Now listen to me and don't interrupt. You, pointing to press, quietly get out of here, until I forced you to pay a fine. I already called security while you were sorting it out. And you, turning to the stadium employee, can already write a statement on your own. And why should we listen to you? Who are you anyway? Oh, I didn't even introduce myself. And then, this man calls the name of one of the co-owners of the stadium. I'm a mother, of course, still trying to object and shout something, but the guards quickly took her out. This employee disappeared immediately after the man gave his last name. Well, we continued to watch the game in great company. Moreover, we were very pleased to meet the owner of the stadium, where we spent a lot of free time. I'm a mother from the UK. When I turned 18, naturally, I thought about who I wanted to be, what profession to master, and in general, how to get settled in life. So after graduation, I just went on a trip. After visiting many countries, I decided to sit down in the UK. However, my parents dissuaded me for a long time, because with my appearance it is better to sit in my hometown. Now it's time to tell you that I'm a dark-skinned guy with a thick beard. Therefore, Mom and Dad said that everyone there was white, that no one would accept me, that I would not find friends and other prejudices. However, in reality, everything was just great. No one bullied me, and I found a lot of friends. At the same time, I decided to go to university to study architecture. I was very interested in this direction, and therefore the training was easy for me. Sometimes, to take a break from studying and just be alone with myself, I go to a local park after a couple, feed the birds with bread, and just read something interesting. So that day I sat down on my favorite bench, opened a book, and plunged into the world of fantasy. I do not know how much time has passed, it seems to me no more than an hour. And then, some crazy woman flies up to me and starts yelling at me. She just knocks out my book with her hand. Get distracted when people are talking to you. Didn't you hear what I said to you? I quickly began to think about the situation where I could have done something bad, and I realized that no such offense, which could cause aggressive behavior. But I decided to ask anyway. Lady, explain what happened. I don't understand the reason for your aggression. I told you to get the hell out of here. Why? You're black with a beard, and you're scaring my daughter. Woman, if something scares your daughter in me, then it's only your problem. And it is you who have missed something in education. Why should I suffer because of you? Are you completely out of control? You're scaring the kid. In general, I can call the police now, and they will detain you. On what grounds, woman? While you're yelling at me, you could have found something else a long time ago. A place to walk, and your child would have forgotten this incident long ago. And now she's trying to say something again, but before she can open her mouth, a flock of crows, which I often feed, shit on her for no reason at all. Imagine, not one bird, but several at once. It was very epic. I was laughing. Like a horse. I, the mother, disappeared just a couple of seconds later with my child, and I never saw her in this park again. See also, my son is a climber in Genshin Impact.